Hey everybody, it's Mr. Weed here. Before I even say anything about this process in this video, if you read the title of this video and you found it and you are nervous and stressed and feeling pressure from administrators and parents to put together a video like this with your students, and you've never used any of this kind of technology before, and you barely know how to check your email, and you're just stressed about how on earth you ever going to do this thing, my advice to you is don't do this thing. My advice to you is do not do it. Turn off this video right now and never look back, and breathe easy knowing that instead you are doing what is best for you and your students by keeping your sanity in check during this weird time, and that is how you are able to most effectively be there for them, okay? This is not for you if you are just feeling nothing but stress about the process. Now, if you are a little bit new to the technologies and you think it looks cool and no one's putting any pressure on you to do it other than maybe your students might think it's a cool idea, and it's just something you want to give a try, and you are approaching it from a place of joy and excitement, then this video is 100% for you. Now, on that note, it will not be an in-depth technical breakdown about the softwares I'm using, just some tips and tricks and a little bit of a peek behind the veil of how I put together the Washington State Virtual Wind Ensemble First Suite tune, okay? So the first thing is just organization. That's kind of where you want to start. And do whatever works best for you. I'm a Google boy. I do lots of stuff through Google, so I set up a Google Drive folder that had different folders for every instrument. Actually, I could pull it up right here, and you can see this is the First Suite folder. It's got different folders for every instrument. It's got the parts in PDF. It's got full mixes I put in there towards the end, and it's got spreadsheets of the part distribution. That way, I was able to just share that folder with everybody who was part of the project. And then I just updated play-along tracks as people dumped videos in there. Now, part of that organization and that work up front is definitely in the play-along track that you send out. It's a must. You have to have some sort of play-along track. I've found the more robust, the better. Not everyone's great, especially students, at playing with just a click track. It's hard if you're not used to it. So the more stuff you have going on, the easier it'll be for them. So at the beginning of the click track, you'll hear me say, but you'll hear I say, please clap on my signal. 1, 2, ready, and clap. The reason for that is both for the audio and the video. I'll show you the video part later. But that means when I get these tracks from people, if I spread this out now, you can see in the audio waveform, if I make it taller, and if I zoom in a bunch, this is everybody's track. That right there is what a clap looks like. And that's why I do that. So that when I get these videos, all I have to do is line up those big peaks, and that's usually perfect. Then once that part is lined up, all I have to do is not move the audio file itself on the timeline, just leave it right there. I can make it longer or shorter. You can kind of see there's spots where people aren't playing, where I cut it out, right? And then here's everybody at the end, all big and bad. Just real quick for you audio heads out there, for anybody who is a little bit more technical on the audio side of things, if you have people recording with their phones do great compressing that audio as it's being recorded, but it kind of cuts out a lot at the low end a lot of time. Like it's not really great at capturing a tuba. So I actually went in and I EQ'd the entire mix, the entire main mix, and you can see it here. This was where I found it kind of leveled out the sound the best. And it brought out the low ends in a nice way and cut some of the tinniness, some of the treble out of the high end. This is by nature of people recording with their phones. That's just what happens. Now with my headphones back on my head, here's the folder again where everybody's putting their stuff. If I open up one of these, you'll see these are the videos I got. One of the things I figured out was that my audio software, for some reason, was having trouble with the MP4 file. So I was then using an online converter to convert those to MOV, which it worked fine with, but then I realized you could just change the extension. If you see each one of these says, like here, this one says Andrea Solo Clarinet .mp4. I can just change that to .mov, and that works, which was a strange little loophole that I didn't know was the case. So if you run into problems with audio format, try just changing the extension first and see what happens. This folder was play along tracks, and you see I named play along V6, play along V7. If you go to archive, there's V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. The first one they got was just me playing along with the click track. Let's listen to it here, just a little bit of it. It's kind of horrible when I try and do the flute trills on a euphonium, but here's the clap. All right. Kind of fun as just a euphonium ensemble, I guess. But I wanted to make it as robust as possible, as quickly as possible. So when I sent that out originally, I got a few parts back almost immediately, and I very quickly mixed them in and put up Play Along V2. Get some saxophone in there. It's a real rough mix. It doesn't need to be studio quality ready or whatever, you know, but it fills it out a little bit and helps people tune better, and even maybe a little bit of blend, right? Once I got to version 7, that was where I stopped. It's still missing quite a few parts. So that's still a play along track. It's a really rough mix. So I was able to go at that point and start actually working on mixing the whole thing down. Once I had the vast majority of the videos submitted of people I was going to get, and I had a mix that was big enough that I felt like timing-wise it was close enough to the final version of the audio that I was going to use, I was able to put it into some video editing software and start putting the actual video together. Now, as far as the video itself is concerned, these are a lot of videos happening at once, and your computer can get really bogged down trying to edit and run all of these video clips at the same time. So there's kind of a little trick around that, that honestly any of you who are just using like a basic laptop or something might want to try to employ to make it easier on your system. If you don't do stuff like this, when you get closer to the final product, it's going to be really difficult to view it inside the editor until you encode it into the final video. It's just like a Photoshop or something, where as you're editing, you have all these different layers that happen. Each one of these videos is a different layer, and on that layer, cropping, resizing, moving around, playing, and all this stuff is happening. Your computer's chugging through it real time, and with all these videos, it can really start to struggle. Now, as far as lining up the videos go, we did the clap like before, right? So if I were to pull up the audio waveform at the bottom, you'd see the clap there, just like it was in the other software. I don't think I need to do that. You remember what that looks like. Nice sharp peak. Once I found that, I actually put a little marker on my timeline. Just about every video editing software, some way to put some kind of marker or keyframe on your timeline to mark a spot. I put a marker right where the clap happened. That way, all I had to do was find each spot where in the video where their hands came together and just line that up with that marker, and we're good to go. Nice and easy. Again, just like the other one. I knew that those videos were going to be lined up then at that point. Now, for finding the clap, just about every video editor that I'm aware of, if you use the arrow keys on your keyboard, it allows you to move one frame at a time. When you do that, you can find the exact frame where where their hands come together. There it is. Boop, boop, boop. Now you'll notice if I scroll through here, this doesn't change. And in the in the final video, I had lots of like things happening with them moving around and zoom ins and showcasing different players at different times. That is the sort of trick around the weight of doing all the editing at once that I got around, and this is how I did it. I made this is a separate video, and once that was done, when I had these all lined up and put into a box like this, I actually exported this as its own video. What this does is it takes away the weight of having to edit and play all 15 of those videos at once, and it exports it into one single video. So now I had this video just called brass.mp4, and if I open this up, you can see it is that video we were just looking at with the clap and everything still. With the clap and everything still there, it's just now it's one single video. It's no more difficult for my computer to play or edit than any one of these videos on their own. Now, I did this for brass and woodwinds alike. You can do them in any size groups you want, and I mean, you can even change those groups either way, but it's just a way to get kind of everybody all together and then make it much easier for your system, for your computer, your hardware, to deal with the editing process, and can make it smoother and a little quicker for you too. Once I had both of those done, then it was simple. I just opened up another project in my video editor here, and then I just put them both on the timeline. But once I had those two things lined up, it's just like the audio. Now I know they're lined up. I don't have to think about whether or not they're lined up, as long as I don't move those two things from my timeline. So you can see here, this bottom one here is the brass, and the one just above it here is woodwinds. And all I was just decide which one I wanted where. Here I wanted the woodwinds, and I just zoomed it in a little bit. and I didn't do anything fancy to zoom it in. I literally just made it bigger there, right? And that's all I did. But again, because those are not 31 discrete videos, it's only 2 videos. My computer is able to quickly have these things move around and to actually be able to edit them and then actually have a real, an idea of what it actually looks like, right? And just about every video editing software, I'm not going to get into how, has some kind of way to move videos around and animate the motion. Once again, this was not intended to be super technical, just sort of some tips and tricks that I found to help make my life a little bit easier when doing these things. I'll be doing more of them. I'm always around for questions. If this has stressed you out further, I restate my disclaimer from the beginning and tell you to don't worry about it. Don't do it at all. It's not necessary for you to dig in and do this stuff. However, if you are feeling joy about it and now you're excited to fire up your video editors and give it a try, then hopefully I gave you some cool tricks for doing that. Well, that's it for now. I've been thinking about hosting a live stream on YouTube about this kind of stuff, that people could come in and just ask questions and I could demonstrate some things. But I've kind of been doing some of that stuff already. So subscribe, stay tuned. All right, Mr. Weed, out.